Right Honourable Speaker and honourable colleagues, I rise today to respond to the State of the Nation address that was delivered on 6th of June 2024 as per Rule 53 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament of Uganda. Right Honourable Speaker, the State of the Nation address is a constitutionally enshrined obligation and an annual tradition which is meant to provide a clear and comprehensive overview of our nation's progress while unveiling the government's agenda for the forthcoming year. Regrettably, the address seems to have deviated from its intended purpose, increasingly resembling a ceremonial ritual rather than a substantive and honest appraisal of our national condition. The address, while filled with proclamations of progress, appears to lack the depth and sincerity that is necessary to fully capture the complexities and challenges that are facing our nation. There is a growing dissonance between the rosy picture painted by the address, a copy of which I have, and the harsh realities experienced by many Ugandans daily. Economically,
sorry Rob, sorry. That's the procedure matter. Because the Rob is making a statement that is provided for under the rules. Yeah. Honourable, what's the procedure matter?
Mr. Speaker, sir.
Honourable Macho, you're protected. Please, Honourable colleagues, let's listen to Honourable.
Mr. Speaker, congratulations for the wonderful function that you hosted us. Mr. Speaker, I'm also on a procedural matter. I'm happy that the leader of opposition is giving a response.
Economically, the address fell short of acknowledging the persistent and pervasive economic struggles that many of our citizens endure. Unemployment remains a significant issue, particularly among our youth, who are the bedrock of our future. The rising cost of living continues to burden countless families, creating an environment of economic insecurity that was not adequately addressed. Our healthcare system, a cornerstone of national well-being, remains in a precarious state. Despite assertions of improvements, the reality is blatantly different for many Ugandans who face significant challenges in accessing basic healthcare services. Our hospitals are often underfunded, understaffed, and ill-equipped. A situation that the address did not confront with the urgency it deserves. The lack of a clear and actionable plan to rectify these deficiencies is deeply concerning, Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues. Similarly, the education sector, which shapes the future of our nation, faces numerous challenges that were glossed over in the address. The ongoing issues of inadequate funding, poor infrastructure, and substandard quality of education in many of our public schools were not sufficiently acknowledged. Inadequate remedies against corruption, an enduring obstacle to our national progress, reflects a missed opportunity in the State of the Nation address. While anti-corruption efforts were referenced, mere rhetoric is insufficient. Concrete actions and innovative strategies are imperative to combat this entrenched issue. Without genuine dedication and transparent execution, phrases such as crushing the corrupt remain mere slogans, Right Honourable Speaker. Furthermore, the address failed to acknowledge the ongoing repression, censorship, and harassment faced by opposition members and civil society organizations. These infringements strike at the core of our democracy and demand immediate attention. Ignoring or downplaying these issues undermines the very foundation of our nation. To truly move forward, we must confront these issues head-on with a sense of urgency and steady commitment. Our discourse must transcend rhetoric and translate into actionable plans, transparent execution, and accountable governance. It is our collective responsibility, Right Honourable Speaker, to ensure that the promises made during the State of the Nation address are not mere words, but catalysts for real and meaningful change. As representatives of the people, we are duty-bound to hold the government accountable and ensure that its promises manifest into tangible improvements in the lives of all Ugandans. Owing to the foregoing, Right Honourable Speaker, This year's opposition response to the State of the Nation address has been anchored on 3 pillars, named service delivery, corruption, and human rights. And I'll quickly adumbrate these issues. 1, urgent economic concerns, a call for reform and accountability. Right Honorable Speaker, our nation stands at a critical juncture, facing profound economic crises that threaten the very fabric of our society and the future of our beloved Uganda. The economic status of Uganda is in a dire state, starkly contradicting the government's hollow claims of progress and stability. The harsh reality is undeniable, as every Ugandan feels the deep economic pinch in their pockets. Let me talk about some aspects. Overtaxation. The burden of overtaxation is a sad reality that cannot be overstated. Our tax system, designed to fund public services, has unfortunately become a tool that erodes the economic rights of our people. It has stifled the aspirations of small business owners and the working families across our land. Businesses close not just in numbers, but in droves. Each closure a testament to a policy that demands re-evaluation. This is not sustainable, Right Honorable Speaker, nor is it just. During the passing of the 2024-2025 tax bills, we reminded the government to develop a comprehensive taxation policy for the country, such that the imposition of any tax is informed by a well-structured tax framework that does not promote injustice. Right Honorable Speaker, the front bench promised us that that comprehensive taxation policy will come to this House before end of this year. I would like to remind them that they are left with about 4 months to deliver the comprehensive taxation policy that they delivered, that they promised to this House. Honorable Speaker, the domestic revenue mobilization strategy has utterly failed to achieve its core objective. The government is in desperate need of more funds for essential service delivery, so it continues to impose levies on a populace that is already suffering from severe economic hardships. This approach is unsustainable and it is unjust, placing an unbearable burden on citizens who are struggling to make ends meet. We must urgently reassess and reform our revenue collection strategies to ensure they are equitable and do not further exacerbate the economic plight of our people. Honorable Speaker, Uganda's approach to taxation has not been balanced by adequate attention to the welfare of our citizens. I'm dwelling on this issue because it's important. Ironically, as the government seeks to raise more revenue through numerous taxes, it simultaneously erodes the very base from which this revenue is meant to be drawn. You all witnessed the grievances that led to traders striking over the use of EFRIs by URA, the modus operandi of tax collection, and other exorbitant taxes that they have to endure, and yet, as they say, they don't see value for this tax money. Traders have reached a point where they find it increasingly difficult to continue trading. And Honorable Speaker, these traders...
Look, I will request honorable colleagues, there are special chairs we have there. Kindly create space on them. Please. Because I can see one of the intended beneficiaries is struggling. I will request all of you, honorable colleagues, you leave those seats. Thank you. Thank you. Please, sorry.
Honorable Speaker, this very week the traders have resumed their strike. Yesterday, a couple of them closed their shops, and many are saying they will continue to do so. It's not a pleasant situation. They want to work, they want to make money, but they're finding it difficult to operate. Government promised them meetings, but it's playing hide and seek. We need to listen to these people. We cannot just dismiss them, as I have seen some government officials dismissing them and saying, you close if you want, people will go and buy commodities from elsewhere. We cannot be that callous if we are a government that claims to care about the people. Honorable Speaker and members, the state of our nation demands urgent and decisive action. We cannot afford complacency when the stakes are so high. Let me talk a bit about the increasing poverty in our country. Poverty in Uganda is a critical and multifaceted issue that affects a significant portion of our population. According to the UNICEF Country Office Annual Report of 2023, more than 41.7% of the population of Uganda is living in poverty. Multidimensional child poverty is also high at 44%, while monetary child poverty remains at 23% as of the last year of 2023. The multidimensional child poverty that has invaded our homes is tearing the full crowd around which society is built. In a nation blessed with abundant natural resources and a hard-working population, it is a glaring contradiction, Right Honourable Speaker, that so many should have so little. Vulnerable groups, including children, the elderly, suffer disproportionately with no safety net to catch them as they fall through the cracks widened by economic hardship. Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, you will bear witness if what I'm talking about is not reflected in the pockets of our fellow citizens, in the constituencies where you all come from, where we all come from. Let me move on to youth unemployment. Perhaps before, people are struggling to secure the necessities of life due to the rising tide of poverty. This situation demands our urgent attention and action, and this is despite the poverty reduction measures like parish development model, which this government is implementing without following our well-intentioned advice. You can't keep throwing money at people and expect them to get rich. It cannot work. It is no wonder that all the past programs such as Enyoga, Youth Livelihood and others have failed to achieve their intended purposes. And this is a confession of even some government officials. And that's why we keep bringing out another. The other fails to work, we bring another. In the case of PDM, Right Honourable Speaker, it is even more problematic that you will give 100 million shillings to a parish of 1,000 people and the same 100 million shillings to a parish of 40,000 people, as is the case in the heavily populated urban areas. This skewed mathematics alone should have alerted government about the inability of this program to ameliorate the people of Uganda. The math does not work. And again, I've seen many government officials allude to that fact. But are we listening? Youth unemployment. This is not just a challenge, Right Honourable Speaker, it is a ticking time bomb. Our young people brimming with potential and ambition are sidelined. Their dreams deferred or quashed. We have reached a distressing point where the absence of opportunity drives our youth into terrifying conditions abroad. Reports of human rights abuses against Ugandans in foreign lands are not just disturbing, they are a call to action. It is our duty to respond and to protect our citizens wherever they may be. We all get these calls from Ugandans abroad. We in the opposition and colleagues in the ruling party, we do get these calls from these Ugandans. And so it's not something outside of our reach. Furthermore, Right Honourable Speaker, the plight of our citizens working overseas, particularly in the Arab world, is taken as if it's very normal and okay to mistreat Ugandans in the diaspora. The government has continuously been urged to take immediate action to recruit labor attaches in major cities and countries where Ugandans are employed. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs must task these attaches to focus specifically on labor-related issues and to provide technical backstopping and consular support in all our foreign missions. They gave us an update that they did it for some. We want it across. The government's role doesn't stop at levying numerous taxes, but as a sovereign state, it is mandated to negotiate stronger bilateral labor agreements to protect its citizens who are beyond its borders. It's essential to have a bilateral agreement in place before exporting labor to any country. Right Honourable Speaker, we desire a state that empowers the youth with skills and opportunities here at home, transforming potential energy into kinetic achievements in the immediacy. The government must defend the dignity of every Ugandan at home and abroad, and ensuring that their labor rights are not violated. Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, let me talk a bit about public debt, our worsening public debt. This, coupled with the government's high appetite for borrowing, pose a significant threat to Uganda's economic stability. The situation is exacerbated by rampant corruption and sheer irresponsibility in managing borrowed funds, leading to the payment of commitment fees for unutilized loans. The IMF report, titled Uganda's Public Debt Dilemma, What Lies Ahead in 2024, highlights a critical financial issue for Uganda. Interest payments on loans are consuming a significant portion of the country's budget and our domestic revenues, creating a substantial burden. Additionally, a large number of amounts of borrowed funds is either underutilized or misused. For instance, loans intended for sectors such as health, education, innovation, technology development and transfer, manufacturing, private sector development, public sector development, regional development, etc., remain unutilized or poorly managed. This exacerbates the financial challenges faced by our country. For record purposes, Honorable Speaker, we have provided comprehensive lists of borrowed funds that remain unutilized, and this is attached as an appendix so that colleagues can look at it. It is worrying. We borrow this money, it remains idle, and yet we are paying interest on it. Honorable Speaker, it feeds into the narrative that we hear that some public officials do this deliberately, make sure this money comes, and then they put it on fixed deposit accounts for their own benefit. Meanwhile, it's not being utilized for the purpose for which it was borrowed. The taxpayer is paying interest. That's the narrative out there. And this here goes to feed that narrative. I provided that list, and I'd like to request colleagues to take time and read. These are actually government documents, so that you don't assume I'm saying this just because I am leader of the opposition. It is a reality that we need to deal with. Let's not borrow money that we are not ready to utilize. Right, Honorable Speaker, by June 2024, Uganda's public debt had skyrocketed to 97.499 trillion, and the government has continued to borrow even more. This wanton borrowing spree without corresponding value for money undermines the country's fiscal health and burdens future generations with debt repayment obligations. Honorable Speaker, not long ago we had a debate here with the Minister of Finance, who was trying to downsize our debt burden. And according to them, they were saying the obligations we have to Ugandans who have either supplied to government or done work for government and have not been paid, all those obligations. Minister of Finance said for them they don't want to consider that as debt. And we are saying, but no, when a Ugandan or whoever supplies a service to you or a commodity to you, and you take 1 year, 2 years, 3 years without paying them, one, it is a debt. But number two, businesses are going to crumble. How do we expect to get taxes from these businesses? Somebody borrows a loan, gets a loan from the bank to supply, because they've got a tender, a contract with government. They acquire a loan from the bank, they supply to government. And that government takes 3, 4, 5 years without paying them. Surely, how do we expect these businesses to survive? How? It doesn't make sense at all. We need to prioritize them. Right, Honorable Speaker, in just 5 years, Uganda's public debt has more than doubled. In just 5 years. And that's highlighted in the Auditor General's report of 2024. The report indicates that the public debt surged from 46 trillion to 97 trillion in just 5 years. Disturbingly, Right Honorable Speaker, there is a lack of a direct correlation between the accumulated loans and tangible development. And this signals a severe lack of accountability for taxpayers' money. This particularly is unacceptable in the current context, where poverty levels are rising and economic hardships are intensifying. The failure to translate borrowed funds into meaningful development projects is a betrayal of public trust, which we have, and a misuse of national resources. This government promised to build a specialized hospital at Lubowa, and so far, over 600 billion shillings has been sunk into this project. And Ministry of Finance confirms that figure here in the House, over 600 billion shillings that we have sunk into Lubowa specialized hospital. But there's nothing to show for all of that money. No wonder they cannot give access to us as legislators to see what's happening there at the site, yet the money is appropriated here. I find that very quixotic, Right Honorable Speaker. Government comes to us to appropriate money, we do, and then when we want to play our oversight role, we cannot. The Health Committee tried to access that site, they were denied access. I went because my responsibility is to keep the government in check. Together with my colleagues, we went. We were denied access. The Speaker told us that a delegation led by yourself, Right Honorable Speaker, as Deputy Speaker, will go, check out the site and give us feedback. I'm hoping, Right Honorable Speaker, you were also not denied access. Because you preside over the house that appropriated this money, why doesn't government want to account to us? Why? I made a suggestion here and I said, all of us in our constituencies where we come from, there's a health center, a government health center that doesn't have medicine, that doesn't have medical workers. Let's appropriate that money to those health centers because they are operational, as opposed to sinking it into something we don't quite understand. Right, Honorable Speaker, this government has sunk lots of money into a Tiak sugar factory without much to show for it. The Parliamentary Budget Committee records reveal that so far, 553.71 billion has been injected in the Tiak sugar factory project, but not a single grain of sugar has been produced.
Procedure, Speaker. Procedure, Speaker.
Honorable Speaker.
Procedure, Speaker.
Procedure?
Yes.
But
Speaker. Yes.
And I'll go on Wednesday. I'm waiting. But Lop.